All right, guys, here's how we clean ceiling fans, okay? Again, most things are pretty common sense, but there are some safety concerns and some things that we really need to keep consideration of. So safety first, right? First thing you want to do is obviously turn off the fan blades to ensure that they're totally not moving before you get up there, okay? You're gonna want to use the sturdy step ladder that I got, right? Or there's an extension pole, okay, that we have with a duster on it, so you don't even have to get on a ladder or a step ladder of any kind if you don't want to. But I find that you can get a little better detail if you have a rag in your hand. But we have tools that you can use just to pull right over the top of the blades, right? So anyways, check your footing if you do end up getting up on a step stool. Avoid leaning too far, right? Instead, get up, reposition the ladder, okay? So anyways, those are some safety concerns. Make sure you don't bump it and knock something off, or, rest your hand or arm on it and use it as something to support you, because all that's holding that thing up there is like 4 bolts, okay? They're secure bolts, but they're not meant to, hold a person's weight, okay? So anyways, dusting the fan blades, right? So you either want to use the duster, the microfiber duster that's on the pole, or you're going to want to use a regular microfiber cloth to go ahead and get that dust off of there. This isn't really the appropriate use for the ostrich feather. It's just too much dust collects up there, okay? So make sure and wipe each blade from the center out, okay? So you're going from the center of the fan part this way, because at the end, you want to knock all that dust off towards the floor, not towards the inside of the fan, right? So here's a pro tip. I have a bunch of them if you need, right? I have a surplus of them. Pillowcases, right? If you put a pillowcase over them, if they're really, really, really dusty, or a trash bag, when you go to pull that dust off of it, it'll go straight into the bag, and you won't be breathing any stuff in. This might be an actual really good scenario to use a mask on, okay? Because there's a lot of particles and dust you just don't want breathing in, okay? So anyways, if it needs a deep clean, right? Sometimes they do. Spray a cloth with the all-purpose cleaner, something like 409, okay? Spray it on the cloth. And then wipe, again, from the inside out, okay? You want to make sure and get the edges of the blades, get the bottom of the blade, get the top of the blade. Bearing in mind that the bottom of the blade people can see, so do a good job making sure those aren't streaked, okay? So anyways, always pro tips, avoid spraying directly into the fan, okay? Because we don't want liquid entering into the motor, okay? It'll burn it out. I'll be buying a new one, okay? For sticky buildup, you're not really gonna run into that too much, but let the cleaner sit for 1 or 2 minutes. Remember, we wanna let the chemistry do the job for you, okay? If it's safe to do so, go ahead and wipe down the base of the fan, okay? The motor housing, all right? Again, you're doing that with a wet rag. You're not spraying into it, all right? Dust the air vents if they're present. There should be a can of canned air in there. Psh, psh, psh. That should work pretty good for there. Again, you're doing this as one of the very first steps, okay? You want all the stuff to fall down on the floor, not on the stuff you just cleaned. If there's any air vents right nearby that you haven't gotten yet, or that might be the next step you do afterwards when you're getting your cobwebs, is just to make sure, since you're looking up high, get all the other cobwebs, get dust off of the vents, things like that while you're at it, okay? Make sure and use a dry cloth around electrical components. You don't want, water and power don't mix, okay? No electrocutions here. Some final touches, some things to keep in mind, right? Is that, vacuuming away that dust, as an initial step is gonna, really help keep the air cleaner for everybody, okay? So try and do that if you can. If not, it's not gonna be the end of the world. And then, when you're done cleaning it, it's a really, really good idea to turn it on and let it run for a second, because you don't want, maybe a piece of dust stayed up on top of one of those parts of the fan. You don't want the customer to come turn it on and see that dust fly right out, right? That doesn't look clean. So, you know, if the fan wobbles while you're up there, you can ask the customer. They'll probably be okay with it if you just went ahead and tightened those loose screws. You know, it's those little personal touches. You know, they're like, whoa, it used to wobble. You know, oh yeah, it's just a screw loose. So, anyways, if you are doing something like that, make sure and log it in the database so we knew that you know. Um, did something there, okay? Also, be sure to log any damages that you found during cleaning, right? So maybe there's a globe for the light that's in there and you see a crack in it. Snap a picture, make a note in the database for us, would you? Um, and that's it. That is how to clean a ceiling fan. Thanks, guys.